focus would be squarely on securing their return and rebuilding their homes. Hezbollah is like a wounded man. Does a wounded man get up and fight? A wounded man needs to tend his wounds. The official expected Hezbollah to carry out a wide-ranging policy review after the war, dealing with all major issues. I don't like the phrase Hezbollah supporters. They might be, but it is as if that gives a clear reason for Israel to bomb them. You're absolutely right, by the way. That is why the article is presenting them as that. The notion that people like that support the regional party that is offering civil governance to them, that is from their own sect, their own background, is worthy of death and destruction is a really stupid one. And the reality of the matter is, I don't agree that American Republicans also, I don't believe that American Republicans in like right-wing enclaves in the South or anywhere around the country for that matter deserve to be fucking bombed into oblivion. Just because I disagree with the right wing and the American Republican Party and its supporters does not mean that I think it is valid for them to be destroyed militarily and have their children be slaughtered and have their homes be bombed into oblivion. If you can make that distinction, then you can understand that there is no difference here with Hezbollah and support for Hezbollah as well. The problem is people don't see that. No matter how much you communicate, no matter how much I communicate this reality, most people will never actually look at it in the same way. You know, they will never see it in the same way. These are brown people far away that Americans have only seen on television screens as, either some avoidable consequences, collateral damage, or, evil villains that deserve to be militarily defeated. Just remember that. Thoughts on Sinah's analysis? Some reflections on the Hezbollah-Israel war from Sinah Tusi, senior fellow at CI Policy, Center for International Policy, tweets mostly on Iran. He writes for Foreign Affairs, Foreign Policy Magazine, and The Guardian. Israel entered the conflict with a clear and ambitious objective to advance the Litani River through the relentless aerial and ground assaults, seize control from Hezbollah, and secure the area to facilitate the return of displaced Israelis. Yeah, they wanted to create a security barrier like they did in the Gaza envelope past the point of the Gaza barrier inside of the Gaza Strip. I think that's what they wanted to do, at least like a mile in or so, to ensure that there was some semblance of like permanent military occupation there. So that Hezbollah would not have, missile systems aimed directly in northern Israel, for example. This move was intended not only to reclaim territory, but to establish a long-term security against Hezbollah threat. However, the strategy faltered. Instead of achieving its goals, intensified missile strikes by Hezbollah forced the evacuation of even more Israeli areas. Escalating Hezbollah attacks since October also severely disrupted Haifa, a strategic economic hub. The escalation reached its peak last Sunday, just 3 days before the ceasefire was announced, with Hezbollah setting a new record for daily attacks. The volume of missiles and rockets fired, many targeting Tel Aviv and striking deep into Israel, surpassed all previous levels. Israel's acceptance of the ceasefire despite unachieved objectives in part highlights Netanyahu's constrained position. Had Netanyahu believed continued fighting would yield better outcomes, he likely would have not agreed to the truce. Just like he is not agreeing to any sort of ceasefire proposal in Gaza, because he believes that he can continue dominating and genociding and ethnically cleansing at least northern Gaza. Hezbollah, meanwhile, may have been pressured into accepting the ceasefire due to internal and international dynamics, raising questions about its satisfaction with the agreement. Hezbollah Secretary General Naim Qassem is expected to address these issues soon, but the ceasefire's implications will take some time to become clear. That's where we're at. Yes, this map by the IDF shows this Gaza-style security zone where they're telling locals not to enter currently. Yeah, see? So they did this exact same thing in Gaza as well, where they just like blew up every building. They blew up every building that was, I forget what the exact distance is, but I suspect it's a similar distance. And completely wiped it clean. IDF spokesman, Rear Admiral, this is from Emmanuel Manny Fabian, Times of Israel's military correspondent. Just so you know, I'm not like looking at some random people on Twitter. IDF, he writes for the Times of Israel. IDF spokesman Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari in a press conference says any Hezbollah violation of the ceasefire agreement will be answered with fire. The IDF's mission is to enforce the agreement. The IDF is determined, and any violation will be answered with fire, he says. 1 kilometer from the border. Thank you, Elent News. Hagari says IDF troops are still positioned in southern Lebanon in the villages and areas from which there will be gradual withdrawal in accordance with the agreement. I believe it's going to take 60 days, they said. Air Force planes continue to fly over Lebanon skies, collecting intelligence, and are prepared to operate whenever necessary. Hagari says that in the coming weeks, the IDF will shape its defenses on the northern border and implement lessons from the past. Today, he says IDF troops work to enforce the agreement. The soldiers identified suspects who approached no-go zones, detained them, and fired warning shots. We also killed terrorists today, Hagari says. Hagari also shows a map of areas in southern Lebanon that are currently off limits for Lebanese civilians amid the gradual handover to the Lebanese armed forces. We are stationed and operating in this area. Armed operatives in the area marked on the map is a violation of the ceasefire, and any armed operative will be eliminated or detained, he says. Addressing Lebanese civilians, Hagari says, as you saw throughout the war, we are doing what we say. For your safety, we call on you to not approach the area where our forces are. The ceasefire agreement is built in a gradual way, and we will update you when you can return. It's pretty fucking crazy that they're like, yeah, even if you're trying to get back to your homes that we blew up, we will kill you. Israel gets to do that sort of thing, and America will defend it every step of the way. Biden administration is advancing $680 million of arms sales to Israel. This is by my Turkish goat Hümeyra Pamuk over at Reuters. That's the way that the Biden administration is brokering peace for Israel. Channel 12, quoting an Israeli minister who reviewed the documents, we have effectively brought Washington into Lebanon as a senior official, and this is a great achievement. This map is bullshit, Lamau. I have family who returned to their homes beyond that map. He says that during the entire conflict, over 12,500 Hezbollah sites in Lebanon were struck, including 360 in Beirut's southern suburbs. Hezbollah is a strategic Iranian asset, which the Iranian leadership invested many resources in, money, weapons, and personnel over the years. Iran's leadership has lost a strategic asset adjacent to our border, Hagari adds. And for the record, they carpet bombed until the very last moment. If you already agreed to a ceasefire and you're carpet bombing civilian areas because there are a few hours until the ceasefire kicks in, you are so far gone around the moral bend, it's hard to see how you come back. This is just killing for sport. It's true. Moral nation, most moral nation. You know how it is. So yeah, Lebanon's economy is already in the pooper. This was part of the reason. What? Ethan is mad and saying shit about you being pro-terror because the Pod Save America guys are talking to you. Yeah, dude, I don't care, okay? And you shouldn't either. Please stop informing me on every little thing that Ethan does. I let him chirp into the fucking void, okay? An increasingly smaller audience of his core fans that leave because he can't just like stop his obsession. I'm sure he will love the new audience that he cultivates on this fuck Hassan train. Okay? This is beyond drama. He is trying to like actively make me into a toxic person in the eyes of many of the people that I know. Especially because it's, he just, I guess, misunderstands my position. I don't know what it is. It doesn't matter. Okay? He will always do this going forward. Let's continue.
50 and 100 hostages still thought to be alive inside Gaza. And they claim Benjamin Netanyahu won't compromise with Hamas in case his coalition government then collapses.
You know, he's probably making an H3 video on you eventually, right? Yeah, I think if he utilizes his, nascent channel that he hasn't used for anything, specifically to like present me to this massive audience as like some terror supporter, I think that will probably backfire on him. Yeah, that's it. That's all I have. There's not much I can do about it. Destiny will never not defend white people saying the N-word. People who say they don't hate watch are like white people who pretend they don't say the N-word. Not trustworthy people. November 17th, 2024. Wow.
Last night, Israel's Prime Minister talked about releasing the hostages, but not about a possible ceasefire. His political allies can barely stomach yesterday's truce with Hezbollah, and they want Hamas completely defeated before any hostage deal. But despite Gaza's growing humanitarian crisis, this crowd is waiting for bread, and the yearning of Palestinians for peace, Hamas may have little incentive to stop fighting, if the alternative, a ceasefire, means giving up power. So perhaps it's no wonder Keir Starmer and others are cautious about any optimism over Gaza.
We must seize this opportunity to build trust, de-escalate tensions and push for a wider ceasefire.
Those against?
At the UN Security Council last week, the Americans themselves voted alone against a resolution demanding a ceasefire, claiming that it suggested that a hostage release might not happen until after the truce. It was the fourth time the US had sided.
Do you think Hamas has the rush to negotiate with Biden now that Hezbollah can't interfere and before a Trump presidency? Brother, what are you talking about? Hezbollah has offered like 39 deals that America has actually voted in favor of and have claimed was Israel's ceasefire negotiations time and time again. This is not up to, Hamas has done that, not Hezbollah. This is entirely in the hands of America forcing Israel to actually concede on the ceasefire deals. Hamas on October 10th already had a condition set for voluntary transfer of all the prisoners that Israel has. No, like there seems to be even more pressure on Hamas. Dude, what are you talking about? Wake the fuck up. What do you mean pressure on Hamas? What are you saying? What are you saying? More pressure can exist. It's a fucking genocide. What are you saying? Stop, I'm banning you. I'm done. I can't do this. No, I'm not. I'm done. He's perma. It's over. No, his stupidity reached a new boundary that I cannot fucking allow. Oh my God. It's like, that's it. No, the troll is finally gone. It's taken me a fucking year, but I finally had it. It's a bit. There's no way he's a 15-year-old. Yeah, I don't think so. There's no way. I'm done. It's been a year. I've been so charitable to Charitable Chinchilla, formerly known as Neek Skit, in the chat. They legitimately say the dumbest shit. What more pressure can you fucking put? You're making it seem like this is you're making it, one, seem like Israel actually genuinely is interested in a fucking ceasefire when they've shown that they're not. And two, that the military campaign that is a genocide is actually some way of implementing pressure on Hamas to concede to the negotiations when Hamas has already said yes to the fucking ceasefire negotiations. They wrote the ceasefire negotiations. The entire world voted on the ceasefire negotiations. The only party that is not interested in the ceasefire negotiations is the party that fucking executed the principal negotiator, Ismail Haniyeh, in fucking Iran. Yeah, I wonder why they drew Claudia Scheinbaum like this. Are people still unaware that Gaza is systematically leveled? No. Charitable Chinchilla, formerly known as Neek Skit, knows what is happening in Gaza. He's in the chat long enough to know. He's seen it. I don't think they're being stupid. I think they're just like voluntarily trolling. And usually I don't ban people for doing that as long as they don't like piss me off. But it's gotten to a point where, this is it. I can't repeat myself over and over again that many times.
With Israel in this chamber. And Mr. Biden has given Israel pretty much all it's asked for in military as well as diplomatic support. In the meantime, many in Gaza feel forgotten, fearing that a ceasefire in Lebanon will enable the Israelis to escalate their bombardment here.
I mean, I don't know how much more they can escalate. That's another thing that I don't know. How are they going to escalate further? They've already wiped out everything.
Our chief global affairs correspondent, Martha Raddatz, is tracking the very latest for us. Good morning to you, Martha.
Good morning, Robin.
I'm relatively new here. Can you please explain why you don't support a two-state solution? What you think the better alternative would be? I'm a believer that there is already a singular solitary state there. It's just a state that exercises sovereignty over 5 million Palestinians. It's the state of Israel, and it's conducting an apartheid state. It's maintaining an apartheid state, and that there is no real world in which 750,000 Israelis that live illegally in occupied West Bank and East Jerusalem would be forcibly removed from their homes in order for there to be a real two-state solution where the Palestinians have sovereignty. So I am in favor of ending the apartheid. What you are looking at is what the two-state solution is.
Cars returning home, certainly a welcome sign. In fact, this morning across Lebanon and Israel's northern border, the fighting is paused. Just hours ago, that U.S. brokered ceasefire taking effect with...
Chomsky disagrees. It's okay. We can have reasonable discussions on this conversation, but I doubt that Noam Chomsky's current calculation is that no two-state solution will exist. Many people who are long committed anti-Zionists, myself included, believed in a two-state commitment, and that calculation changed. I would urge you to listen to Israeli historian Avi Shlaim and his analysis that also speaks to the impossible reality of 750,000 people who are currently sitting illegally on stolen land that is illegally occupied by the Israeli government. This has made it impossible to have a real two-state. What are you going to do? You're going to fucking forcibly remove militarily 800,000 people from occupied West Bank and occupied East Jerusalem? You're not. No one is going to do that. That's just never going to happen. And I don't think Noam Chomsky is a two-stater anyway. Avi Shlaim is the name of the Israeli historian, the famous Israeli historian. The reason why I bring him up is because him and Ilan Pappé, I believe, were originally two-staters, myself included, and throughout time they have changed their perspective into recognizing that there is currently a one-state.
Hopes it will be permanent.
The West Bank settlers are living in someone else's home, not their homes. They should be returned to living Palestinians who were displaced. What you're saying is mostly true for occupied East Jerusalem and somewhat true for the West Bank, but no, it's not entirely true. The overwhelming majority of the West Bank settlements are actually newly formed settlements that they built on top of Palestinian homes and farms that they destroyed many years prior. And while that is the morally correct way to implement a two-state solution, that would never happen in a million years, and it is infinitely more likely for there to be a one-state solution where the apartheid is dissolved forcibly and abolished, and the 5 million Palestinians are able to participate in the democracy of a singular, solitary, secular state that no longer has an ethno-statist project. I think that is not as unreasonable as the demands being made about a one-state. How Avi Shlaim moved from two-state solution to one-state solution. Yeah, you can read about this. There are many articles written on this as well. But his address, the UN calling for a one-state solution. That address to the UN is also published on Palestine, Chomsky and Pappé. Yeah. The method is South Africa. This is morally true in general, but as you say, the settlers in the West Bank are unhinged and would likely fight and kill IDF soldiers to try to evict them. Oh, for sure. I never say that this will be without conflict. It will be akin to the Reconstruction era in the South. It will be exactly like that, for sure. It has happened before with much smaller numbers in Gaza as the settlers refuse to leave, but the overwhelming majority of the violence will come from the settlers that want to restore the ethnic and sectarian pecking order, and not actually from the Palestinians who want bloody vengeance and revenge. That's usually not how it works throughout history. Reconstruction in the South failed. You're right. I agree. I know. Having said that, however, the current situation, or even the Jim Crow South situation in the United States of America, is still better than the conditions that are the conditions that Palestinians are subjected to as it stands. Now, that doesn't mean that that's where it ends, and that's not the final mode of existence for Palestinians, but it is objectively better than genocide. There's also a good bit of people that will just simply leave. That's the other thing. There will be a lot of people who say, I don't want to fucking live around Palestinians. They're gross. They're disgusting. So there will be a good bit of voluntary immigration into other enclaves, I suspect, or, somewhere else. This happened in apartheid South Africa as well. I can't believe that in the year 2024, I'm over here advocating for no ethno state. And people still say, nah, dog, you're fucking stupid. Hey, can we not have a religious ethno-supremacist ethno state? That seems like, a remnant, a relic of the past. And people are like, nope. Actually, that is a controversial position. You are anti-Semitic. How dare you say such things? Can we not have like a country bouldering toward, country that is firmly in the grips of fascism at this point, not even bouldering towards fascism, let's be real, that wants to maintain a demographic, ethno-supremacist, religious state? That seems kind of crazy. Brother, why do we always get compared to South Africa instead of the Algerian model? Our situation is way more similar to Algeria and not South Africa. Because you're wrong. Because your situation is not similar to Algeria. It is similar to South Africa. That's why you're wrong. What do you think? The fucking South Africans are, the white South Africans are indigenous? Are you stupid? That's why. You can fantasize about purging all Jewish people from that area as much as you want, but it's never going to fucking happen. And not only is it never going to happen, but it's not even just to begin with. That's ridiculous. The solution to this violence, this subjugation, is not more fucking violence directed at random people. It's also never going to happen. So you're just fucking yelling you're yelling into the void. The reality of the matter is the French colonialists could just, hop on a ship and escape. There are plenty of people who just have lived there, and that's the only thing that they've known their whole lives. I don't get it either. Not trying to be antagonistic, but aren't Nazi Germany and Algerian outcomes equally as likely to happen as the South African outcome? No, I don't think the South African apartheid abolition outcome is that unlikely. I think that it is very likely. It is more likely to happen in my lifetime than I ever thought it would be. The FLN tried everything to keep the French from leaving after the war. The Algeria state in 1962 did everything in its power to avoid the Pied Noir fleeing. They were necessary to the economy. Yeah. During the South African apartheid, people did advocate. Did people advocate for a multi-state solution with the Bantustans in the same way? Yes. On one state is much more likely, as you say. The former Mossad head said the settlers literally killed the idea of a Jewish state when they set up in the West Bank. There was no other way of bringing that land into Israel in the 21st century without full annexation and international pressure in the long term to accept all the Palestinians there as full citizens, thus making it a 50-50 Arab-Jewish population. Yup. That's the other side of the irony of the Miriam Adelson push for Donald Trump to permanently annex the West Bank. You permanently annex the West Bank, all of a sudden, there's no more illusion to what Israel is doing, okay? It is now officially, firmly an apartheid state. These people are so fucking hungry for more land acquisition that they do not realize that either you do a permanent Holocaust on the 5 million Palestinians and maybe even the 2.5 million that are living in Israel proper right now, or you are forced through international pressure to basically make them second-class citizens under Israeli rule. There's just no other way out of it. That's it. And if people think that they can maintain an apartheid over 5 million people that they enforce sovereignty over in the same way that they're doing in the West Bank right now in a holding pattern, they're fucking wrong.
The deal was struck after a day of withering Israeli airstrikes in and around.
A singular state in Israel destroys the ethno-state project. That is the thing that Israel fears the most. Okay? Because all of a sudden now you have 7.5 million Palestinians that can vote, technically should be able to vote. What do? I see a lot of people say Hamas is unpopular in Gaza. They want them gone. Is that true or propaganda? I'm sure that there are plenty of people who don't like Hamas in Gaza. It doesn't really matter in this situation. They are more popular than they've ever been, and they're incredibly popular in the West Bank. I was asking a genuine question. I don't understand why I'm getting shouted at. What? No, I don't think so, but we can't frame the Palestinian issues as apartheid only. No, the reason why I frame the Palestinian issues as apartheid is specifically because, well, first of all, there's a genocide going on, okay? It's not just apartheid. But the reason why framing it that is because I'm talking to a Western audience that understands the concept and the immorality of apartheid. Let me do my thing, okay? Can I just do my thing without people chiming in? It is exactly what it is. And it's also a word that is illegal. And I mean, it's a word that people understand is illegal and inhumane and unjust.
Beirut, flattening this apartment building, causing panic in residential streets. But hours later, President Biden confirming that after weeks of intensive negotiations, a deal had been struck between Israel and Hezbollah to end the fighting.
This is designed to be a
I have a question about counterpoints. I've heard and love your thoughts. I would know that ANC and Hamas are competitive often, but the ANC only killed 71 civilians when it was around. Obviously, a number much lower than Hamas. Obviously, both causes are just, but is there a more apt comparison? October 7 can be compared to the Nat Turner rebellion. And the reason for why the ANC killed less civilians, the reason for why the ANC killed less civilians is because the apartheid structure and the violence is set. The standard of violence is set by the occupying entity, the colonizing force, and Israel's violence has only increased throughout time. That is why the Intifada has evolved as well. The first Intifada was fought with stones. The second Intifada was fought with bus bombings and shit. That's the reason for why that's the reason why we're not even talking about the PLO right now. You know what I mean? Like throughout this process. As the occupation has become more and more violent, so has the retaliation. That's why the numbers are far larger, especially because the numbers of the dead on the Palestinian side are far greater as well. Does that make sense? Like, if you look at the asymmetry of cruelty that the Israeli government is subjecting Palestinians to, you will understand exactly what I mean. Like, the numbers are almost proportional.
A permanent cessation of hostilities. What is left of Hezbollah and other terrorist organizations will not be allowed.
Under the agreement, Hezbollah and Israel will observe a 60-day truce. During that period, Hezbollah fighters will move north away from Israel's border, and Israeli troops will gradually withdraw from Lebanon. In the last few months, the exchange of fire has left more than 3,000 dead in Lebanon and at least 70 Israelis killed. In addition to relentless aerial and ground assaults, Hezbollah leader Hassan was assassinated, and exploding pagers took out hundreds of its fighters. But the return fire from Hezbollah left some 80,000 Israelis in the north displaced, leaving Benjamin Netanyahu under extreme pressure to make it safe for them to return. In a late-night address, Netanyahu thanking President Biden for brokering the ceasefire and yet vowing to strike Lebanon again if Hezbollah breaks its part of the deal. Secretary of State Antony Blinken says the ceasefire in Lebanon could help end the conflict in Gaza, since Hamas will no longer have Hezbollah's war to distract the Israeli forces. Michael?
We sure hope that's the case. Martha, thank you so much for that.
For more on the U.S. brokered ceasefire deal, we spoke earlier with White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan.
Great to see you, Gail.
This deal has been in the works for months now. What made the timing perfect for right now?
Well, first, Gail, Israel achieved its military objectives. Hezbollah, the terrorist group, has been badly degraded. And so after weeks and months of relentless American diplomacy led by President Biden, driven by our envoy Amos Hochstein, coordinated out of this building behind me, we were able to broker this ceasefire. And it means the tens of thousands of Israeli citizens and hundreds of thousands of Lebanese civilians will be able to return to their home. And it's designed to be a permanent end to this war.
But are you concerned about the longevity of this ceasefire?
Well, one thing that this deal does is it ensures that Hezbollah cannot rebuild the terrorist infrastructure in the south that threatens Israel. Now,
yeah, Israel's already trying to deport the Palestinian citizens of Israel. I don't believe Israel will be ever interested in ending the apartheid without interference. Yeah, I never said that there won't be interference. There needs to be interference, and there needs to be a tremendous amount of international pressure, and it's getting there. So the pressure keeps mounting, and that's why I always repeat that you must never stop. You must never cave to nihilism. You must never cave to pessimistic thoughts and think, oh, all of my effort and all of my support is for nothing. Palestinians still keep dying. They want you to stop. It would be great if you just went back to business as usual. Okay? Oh, wow. Optimism from Hasan. This is one of the things that I've always maintained a healthy dose of optimism on, because I understand the dynamics a lot better than many people who only after October 7 learned about the process, learned about the truth. If you've been at this for a very long time, even in a sea of death and destruction, what? By the way, Ethan had Boner Box on, and he talked about how it's American leftists, or as he said, commies and tankies such as yourself in this community use free speech as a loophole to try and erode and destroy the country from within. That is hilarious, because it's literally Nazi shit. That's what the Nazis said about the Judeo Bolsheviks eroding their beautiful, bountiful Western civilization. Enemies from within. That's great. Yeah, that's what Donald Trump said too. Anyway, let's continue.
Of course, we're going to have to monitor it and implement it day by day, and the United States and France, along with our other allies, are committed to help doing that. And of course, at the end of the day, as the deal states, Israel retains the right to self-defense if Hezbollah or any other terrorist group violates the deal.
Jake, I'd like to talk for a bit about the relationship between the Biden administration and the incoming Trump.
One of my favorite... Wait, what? One of my favorite subs was, did the mods run from the grid? Unlock it, you bums. Mods, when it comes to banning jerk on the jerk sub. What is this? APAC gave the 2 mods 2 tendies. Half these motherfuckers ain't even anti-Semites. I can't tell if he's disappointed. That's funny. Some Hasbara jerkers flew too close to the sun and burnt their little peepees. Mod has had to go bum mode and run from the grid. Danny Avdija stands modding out here while simping for Zionism is a tough juggle. What is this? Bailing it doesn't incarcerate people out of prison industrial complex, taking out on party bus for TikTok views, the content creation I can get behind. Wait, what? All right, let's continue.
Administration, fans of incoming...
Bassem Youssef? No, they didn't say Bassem Youssef is an anti-Semite. They said Bassem Youssef is literally a Semite, a Semitic person. Because he's Arab.
President-elect Donald Trump would say that the only reason this is happening is because he is the incoming president. His national security advisor, incoming, your replacement, Mike Walls, said exactly that, in fact. So what is the coordination like behind the scenes? And is
he is not beating the paid Hasbara's allegations?
Why are you a Zionist? I don't even get it.
You are a mark. Like, how are you believing this stuff from them?
If a foreign entity has identified you as being easy to use for their own propaganda, you should stop and think that, like, Matt, what, you know, maybe I'm the bad guy.
Well, you see, it's different when I go to Israel and do this because Israel is our ally
right now. Or maybe my talking points, maybe my media, whatever I'm trying to send out to the world, right? However I'm completely aligned, right? Like, maybe that should be cause for concern, no? If it came out that me and 5 other...
Okay, to be fair, some of the people that he's talking to in this video are literally much better voices than others. Like, you can't fucking put Yosef Haddad on there with, like, who's awful with, like, some of the other people.
Commentators were getting paid by people who were taking money from
Benny
Israel
Morris.
To promote Jewish interests in the United States. You know, there would be like a mass extermination.
Wait, what?
Getting paid by people who were taking money from Israel to promote Jewish interests in the United States. You know, there would be like a mass extermination event for Jews in this country. Like any culture at all.
Bro, this dude literally went on a fucking Nazi government sponsored trip to the fucking occupied Polish territories, like, basically. I don't know if they actually paid him or not, for the record. I'm just saying, like, it would be equivalent to that and being like, hey, man, well, I met some naysayers and also a lot of people who are paid propagandists. Like, Elon Levy is like the fucking Joseph Goebbels for Israel. What the fuck? How is this any different than Jackson Hinkle going to fucking occupied Ukrainian territory? That's what's so stupid about this. Is like, I shit on Jackson Hinkle for doing that, and I shit on Destiny for doing this. Kind of explains why his audience is so rabid about you. I mean, I think these are newcomers to the cause. They probably saw him as like a guy who is unconditionally defending Israel. And I mean, he's like, He's like probably a little bit more. If you're a young dude living in Israel, you know, who are you going to go to? Fucking Alan Dershowitz? No, Destiny's a little bit better, even if they are very aligned on a lot of things, you know?
Being a spy is at least kind of cool.
You say this like you're not sponsored by the Qatari oil barons? Hell yeah, baby. Yeah. What? IC prosecutor Karim Khan announced an application warrant for the arrest of Senior General and Acting President Min Aung Hlaing, Commander-in-Chief of the Myanmar Defense Services. Oh, I didn't know the president of Myanmar was Jewish. Yeah. These guys, man. What? Finish the D clip?
Being a useful idiot is like the most embarrassing.
Why do you try?
Yeah. Is why he started defending Israel. He originally was a defender of Palestine, but triangulated towards Israel because of your position. Is very transparent, and he doesn't give a fuck about Israel-Palestine. Yeah, I know. Conservatives are so dumb. Yeah, I saw this earlier today. It is just straight up Nazi propaganda. Where the fuck were we? Let's get back to this.
Is there any truth to the fact that these deals are happening because of our election results here?
Well, first, we've had good communication with the incoming Trump team, including my own communication with incoming National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, and we've kept them apprised of the negotiations as they've unfolded. And I'm glad to see that they've come out to support it. Second, I'm not here to report on credit. I'm here to report that today, early this morning, Israel time, this ceasefire went into effect. And I'm here to explain that it went into effect because of relentless diplomacy carried out by the Biden administration, led by President Biden himself. And of course, what we're looking to do is to hand off a situation where our enemies are degraded, where the United States is not dragged into a war in the Middle East, and where Israel's security is assured. And we believe we'll be able to make that handoff to the new Trump team on January 20th.
I hear you, Jake, but how do you feel about the incoming Trump administration saying, back to Tony's point, this is only happening because Donald Trump is a president-elect? I'm curious how you feel about that, knowing all that you know and how this game is played.
Well, for a lot of days, Gail, you know, we were told by very smart people in the region, in the media, this deal couldn't happen until after January 20th. It just couldn't once the election had happened. Well, the deal has happened. And it's happened because President Biden directed his team to roll up their sleeves and do the work. And it happened also because the United States, over the last many months at critical moments, has positioned U.S. military assets and capabilities to help deter and shape the decisions of our adversaries. And so we're proud of what we've done. I really don't want to get into a back and forth with the incoming team, because my job as National Security Advisor is first and foremost defend the country, and then second, ensure a smooth transition to the new team. I intend to do just that.
All right, Jake Sullivan, thank you.
Don't you know American foreign policy is uniparty, please? Numerous bomb threats made against Donald Trump cabinet nominees, FBI says. Damn. Anyway, like I said, the top line approach to this is that like Israel didn't accomplish any political goals. They didn't accomplish most of their military goals. They did, however, it seems for the time being, successfully decouple Hezbollah from the bombing campaigns that were tied to Israel's consistent genocide in Gaza. Did you see the Harris articles of the Prime Minister's office saying that they were forced into the Lebanon ceasefire by the Biden admin, claiming they threatened them with an arms embargo if they don't? I did not see that, but shocking. Overall, Lee Zeldin, a pipe bomb targeting me and my family at our home today was sent in a pro-Palestinian themed message. Oh, God. Oh, here we go. Oh, dude, they're going to 9/11ify this shit. Or not even 9/11. They're going to do the fucking... oh, brother. It's the anthrax attacks. Oh, God. Oh, here we go. Yeah, that's 100% why they're saying they achieved their goals, because the main goal is to decouple Hezbollah and Gaza. No, that wasn't the main goal. Oh, brother. Oh, by the way, Lady G is in Israel at the King David Hotel, as a matter of fact, in Israel. Let's see what he had to say in Israel. This is his 8th trip to Israel since the 7th of October, 2023. Let's take a look at what Lady G had to say about Israel. Am Israel high?
Somebody has to take over Gaza. Somebody has to rebuild it. It's not going to be the United States. We're not going to rebuild Gaza, and we're not going to take it over because we would fail. I love staying here. Well, I am back. I was here like 10 days ago. Since I was last here, some good things have happened.
It's also wild to say this at the King David Hotel, by the way. Oh, the historical significance of talking about Israel in the King David Hotel is not lost on me. You know, for those of you who don't know, King David Hotel was I think an unofficial headquarters of the British Empire for some time, and it's one of the most famous terror attacks that before Israel existed. One of the first very famous terror attacks that Zionist militias engaged in, Zionist terror cells engaged in, where they killed, what was it, like 60, 70 people in British Mandatory Palestine. Yeah. 91. Yeah. British administrative headquarters for Mandatory Palestine, housed in the southern wing of the King David Hotel, Jerusalem, was bombed in a terrorist attack on the 22nd of July, 1946 by militant right-wing Zionist underground organization Irgun during the Jewish insurgency. 91 people of various nationalities were killed, including Arabs, Britons, and Jews, and 46 were injured. Irgun committed the attack on response to Operation Agatha, known in Israel as Black Saturday. British troops had searched the Jewish agency on 29th of June and confiscated large quantities of documents directly implicating the Haganah in the Jewish insurgency against Britain. The intelligence information was taken to the King David Hotel, where it was initially kept in the offices of the Secretariat in the southern wing. The Irgun was determined to destroy that wing of the hotel in order to destroy the incriminating documents. That's why Bain was not allowed into the UK in the 50s. They saw him as a terrorist. Pete Hegseth has also given a conference at King David Hotel before.
The ceasefire in Lebanon is a good thing, in my view. It will give the people in Lebanon some breathing room, and it will ensure that there will be no October 7th generated from that border against Israel. Compromise is always difficult, but I think the ceasefire was the right decision. And for this region to move forward, we have to find a way to end the fighting and start the peace. So I was just in Saudi Arabia. This is my 8th trip since October the 7th. I am hopeful, but I'm not naive. These military operations have not only made Israel safer, but I think it's created a pathway to peace that did not exist before. So whether or not we can get there or not, regarding normalizing between Saudi Arabia and Israel, is yet to be determined. There are a lot of hard decisions to be made on both sides, but I believe trying is worth it. My belief, and this is just me, I'm not speaking for my government, I'm certainly not speaking for Israel, that the only way to defeat Hamas permanently is to transform the Palestinian society that led to Hamas. Military conquest, I don't think, will be the answer. The military destruction of Hamas is real and was necessary. But what happens in the future is going to be determined what we do, the region and the United States, what we do in the short term. Somebody has to take over Gaza. Somebody has to rebuild it. It's not going to be the United States. We're not going to rebuild Gaza, and we're not going to take it over because we would fail. I think the idea of a long-term military solution for Israel is going to be difficult. Eventually, somebody is going to have to come and rebuild Gaza and create an entity in the Palestinian world that would live in peace with Israel. The only group that I think has a chance of doing that is the Arab world, led by the Crown Prince and the UAE.
Good stuff, man. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, this seems like a great idea, man. Good job. Hey, God forbid it's the Palestinians that have any sort of sovereignty or autonomy, by the way. Yeah, we gotta give Gaza to the Saudis. What an insane way to speak about 5 million people, 2.5 of them in Gaza right now. Like, can you imagine talking about anyone else like this? No, that's how white supremacy works. There are no punishments for this. There are no consequences for this. As a matter of fact, this is American foreign policy, and Lindsey Graham will be celebrated for elevating it, for having the courage to say it out loud. In a just world, he'd be locked away in prison, okay? What a crock of shit, dude. Oh my God. Anyway, let's move on to the bomb threats.
Nominees for Donald Trump's incoming administration have received threats, including bomb threats. According to a spokesperson for the president-elect, the FBI said it has been made aware of the threats and is working with its law enforcement partners. Let's find out more from our senior North America correspondent, Gary O'Donoghue. What are we hearing about this, Gary?
Well, Jane, the FBI are telling us that there have been numerous, what they call numerous bomb threats and swatting incidents at a number of addresses connected to incoming nominees and appointees to the Trump administration that will take hold of the administration in January. We're hearing that Elise Stefanik, now she's a senior member of Congress who's going to be the nominee for the UN ambassador's job. There was a bomb threat at her home in New York, which they learnt about while they were driving back for Thanksgiving, which is tomorrow. We're understanding from some other media sources that Pete Hegseth, the incoming nominee for Secretary of Defense, could have been one of those threatened, and also Howard Lutnick, who's the nominee for the Commerce Secretary. Now, bomb threats, swatting incidents. Swatting is where police call, or people call the police and send them round to someone's house, usually armed to the teeth, because they say there's some...
This is so funny. Having a British man explain how violent of a military force the American police is on any given Sunday is such a funny thing for me. It's like, this is a normal part of American process. In the United States of America, people that don't like you can just call the cops on you to go to your house and try and get you killed. Like, how do you explain that to the fucking Brits, dude?
Kind of threat or incident going on there. And they have proved deadly in the past when police turn up. So these are incredibly serious incidents which the FBI is investigating. And bear in mind, there seems to have been a whole bunch of these over one particular night. And that would be particularly concerning because that suggests some kind of conspiracy.
Gary, thank you. Gary O'Donoghue with the latest there in Washington.
Kamala Harris and Tim Walz urging their supporters to keep up the fight on a call with grassroots organizers yesterday.
I know this is an uncertain time.
Yeah, Lee Zeldin is saying it's like pro-Palestine themed messages. We'll see more.
I'm clear-eyed about that.
We'll learn more about it soon.
And it feels heavy. And I just have to remind you, don't you ever let anybody take your power from you. You have the same power that you did before November 5th.
3 weeks after losing the election, Harris's team is speaking out for the first time in a wide-ranging interview with Pod Save America's Dan Pfeiffer, former senior advisor to Barack Obama. 4 senior members of the Harris campaign discussed what they think went wrong. One major hurdle, they say, they only had 107 days, and they say that impacted decisions like the number of interviews she could do. Trump, on the other hand, of course, made it part of his campaign to appear across several popular podcasts.
One of the things I like about doing a show like this, can you imagine Kamala doing this show?
I could imagine her doing this show.
She'd be laying on the floor.
She was supposed to do it, and she might still do it, and I hope she does.
She's not going to do it.
I will talk to her like a human being. I will try to have a conversation with her.
If she did this kind of an interview with you, I hope she does, because it would be a mess. She'd be laying on the floor comatose. You'd be saying, call in the medics.
Harris's team addressed whether she should have gone on Joe Rogan's podcast and tried to explain why it never happened.
Yeah, there's a lot of intrigue around this, a lot of theory.
I'm sorry. While I do think it would have improved their chances, I don't think that it would have fucking changed the outcome. Having said that, however, this level of emphasis on a singular fucking podcast is yet another resounding example that we have devolved as a society. Okay? We have devolved spectacularly.
It's pretty simple. We wanted to do it. We had discussions with Joe Rogan's team. They were great. They wanted us to come on. We wanted to come on. We tried to get a date to make it work, and ultimately we just weren't able to find a date. But it didn't ultimately impact the outcome one way or the other.
They say they just couldn't find a date there, and that they don't think it would have impacted. James Carville weighed in on this question in recent days. Let's watch what he had to say.
And a lot of the younger
progressive staffers pitched a hissy fit. If I were running a 2028 campaign.
Dude, this argument is so dumb. Oh, really? Oh, so you listened to your younger staffers about Joe Rogan, but you didn't listen to your younger staffers about Israel-Palestine? I wonder what was more consequential for the election. I don't believe this even for a second, okay? Fuck this lizard. That's a From Software common enemy? Yes, that is James Carville, a From Software common enemy. You are right. Yeah, get the fuck out of here, dude. Oh, they didn't they listened to their staffers. They're so scared of their staffers. No, the fuck they're not. You're just lying. I hate this nonsense.
Campaign, and I had some little snot-nosed 23-year-old saying, I'm going to resign if you don't do this. Not only would I fire that on the spot, I would find out who hired them and fire that person on the spot. I'm really not interested in your uninformed, stupid opinion as to whether you go on Joe Rogan or not.
Okay, so Jaime, you have the unfortunate.
This is the classic Reddit conundrum of just like operating on a false premise and then, you know, fantasizing about what you would do under that false premise. Like, just, that's it. Like, it's not real. This is not a real thing, okay? The idea that like the Kamala Harris campaign was too scared of a bunch of the fucking low-level staffers who were like, no, don't do it. Joe Rogan is not woke. It's just trying to reframe a very similar narrative that it's the young wokes that are ruining the party. Wow. The Kamala Harris staffers were only focused on Joe Rogan. They had to listen to their youthful staffers on whether or not they should go on the Joe Rogan podcast, but had no problems not listening to them on any number of different things, like fucking, you know, changing trajectory on the ongoing genocide in Gaza. Feelings on Coca-Cola now being BDS. I've already covered this in the morning. I'm heartbroken, but hey, I will, you know, if this is a successful pressure campaign against Coca-Cola, then I'm all for it, you know? I will abide by it. I have talked about my opinions on boycotting and consumer-based activism, and the Palestinian National Council boycott, divestment, and sanctions is like a perfect example of a hyper-targeted, very specific, very deliberate pressure campaign. It's exactly what is good. It's great.
For the person who has to explain and answer for all of this for us today. What did go wrong?
Yeah. Look, I hate these postmortems, and Mike and I have been talking about this, and this is going to go on for weeks and weeks and weeks. There were myriad of things that happened over the course of the last 4 years, and even 8 years that led to what happened on November 5th. Look, two things that stand out to me. I think my friends on the Kamala campaign are correct. 107 days is not enough time to run for president. That's just a fact. And on the other side, Donald Trump has now run 3 times. This is the 3rd Democratic nominee that he's run against. And so Donald Trump has run for president 3 times. And so he's been able to seed his messaging a lot more strongly than any of our candidates have been, because we've switched over each of the 3 times. And so I do believe that Vice President Harris ran a tremendous campaign, and I think she was as good of a candidate as she could have been. Now, granted, let's pull back to the layers a little bit. Should she have done Joe Rogan? Yes, she should have. Would it have changed the election? Probably not. And so I think, and look, I'm going to steal something that Mike and I were talking about in Mario during the green room. I think here's the overarching thing. You've got to meet voters where they are. You can't try to lead them to where you want them to go. And I think time and time again, Democrats, and particularly this past campaign, we were trying to lead a high-minded campaign and talk about issues that we thought were important to people, but come to find out, that's not what people wanted to talk about. People wanted to talk about immigration. They wanted to feel safe. They wanted to talk about inflation. And look, all these numbers that, you know, these indicators that we're talking about today seem to be doing better right now. And I think if we had a couple more days or weeks, I do believe Kamala Harris and Joe Biden could have got that message out a little bit more saliently. And then, of course, Governor Walz did a great job, too.
And just to Jaime's point, I mean, there's a couple of things, right? We talked about immigration earlier.
Dude, everyone is so bad at their jobs. It's crazy.
In the segment, we saw Governor Abbott. He was arguably the unsung hero of this political campaign, right, by bringing immigration to the fore. When you look at Donald, what he's arguing is a mandate for a second term based off of the margin of victory that he had over Vice President Harris. I mean, you look at some of those blue states, that's what's emboldening him. And that's also the warning sign, I think, for the Democrats, right, because it is immigration. She was quite defensive, as was Biden. When Hyman mentioned some of the indicators, right, President Biden, before Harris assumed the mantle, would just come out and talk about all of these statistics from the Economic Council, excuse me, et cetera. And Americans aren't feeling that when they go to the grocery store and pay for eggs and bread and all of those other things. And Vice President Harris, I think the campaign fell a little bit short of understanding and being able to articulate Americans' pain.
Yeah, so let's dig in a little bit more on Stephen in particular there. Of course, we've spent a lot of time on, and it was an ad that was framed around trans issues, right? That the Trump campaign put a lot of money behind, and it was, Kamala Harris is for they, them, Trump is for you. Here was how...
They love that ad. I swear to Christ, the media, especially the liberal side of media, likes that ad more than anyone else. They love pointing to that ad to be like, it was brilliant, it was amazing. And I think it's because it just goes back to the same thing that I always talk about, which is that everyone is like a little transphobic to a lot transphobic. And so for that reason, especially when paired with the fearful nature of liberals, especially when paired with the fearful nature of liberals, they like, it creates a sense of panic where they're like, no, the ad was so good. It was so good. They got us. They got us. We're so pro-trans. They got us. No, when you're not someone who is well defined, then people can make a mockery out of you. When you have no fucking genuinely held convictions, and no universal programs that you're advocating for, people can just like so easily turn around and be like, yeah, you only care about giving trans prisoners bottom surgery. It's so stupid.
Quentin Folks, who was on the campaign, as well as David Plouffe, explained that in this postmortem. Let's watch.
Obviously, it was a very effective ad at the end. I ultimately don't believe that it was about the issue of trans. I think that it made her seem out of touch. And it was sort of a pseudo-economic ad underneath it.
At the end of the day, we were spending a lot of time with voters in these battleground states, both quantitatively and quantitatively. And this trans ad was not driving vote.
So he says the ad's not driving votes, but when you listen to what Quentin said there, I'm sure that they were testing the trans issue in a straightforward way, but if the ad's about way more than that, it doesn't necessarily line up.
Right, and it's amazing how after an election, it's like one or two things that, oh, we lost because of that. But go back to the Virginia governor's race in 2021. The issues in that race were inflation, trans kids in sports, and immigration. Even
Dude, that's crazy. My man is pointing to a special elections in a governor's race. Like, it is perhaps the worst example. You might as well be talking about an election in fucking Zimbabwe to try and derive any sort of data that you can extrapolate from this conversation as like prescient is so childish. Brother, what happened after 2021? There was a fucking midterm election. You went back to 2021 to a gubernatorial special race? Are you fucking stupid? How are you a paid commentator? Red states have blue governors. Blue states have red governors. People have a much closer relationship with their governors. Okay? It bears no basis on a broader political conversation in general. Mark Robinson, for many different reasons, lost the gubernatorial race on the same ticket where Kamala Harris lost. Okay? Andy Bashar is a Democrat and one of the most popular governors in the nation state. And Andy Bashar is a pro-trans Democrat in Kentucky. Yeah, Vermont reelected a Republican governor by a landslide. This is just how it is. You can't extrapolate. You can't use governor races as a serious metric for anything, especially a special election that is just a gubernatorial race. Oh my God, you're so fucking stupid.
Even in Virginia was an issue. That completely prefigured this election. And I think because the Democrats did better than everyone thought they would in the midterm elections, that people kind of forgot that. But I think
and that's why we ended up with a 170-day campaign, by the way.
Right, but I think the election was probably lost 3 years ago when the White House was saying inflation was transitory when everyone knew it wasn't, and they were saying there wasn't a border crisis when there was.
Do you agree?
I mean, oh yeah, I agree. I also think there were parental issues in that gubernatorial race in 2021. I mean, it was a. Let me put it to you that there's so many places I could go with this, but let me just put it in this context. When you have the they them was the important line in that ad. It had less to do with the transgender issue and more with the they them, the wokeness. When you juxtapose Vice President Harris and Beyonce against Donald Trump at either McDonald's or wearing an orange vest in a garbage truck.
Donald Trump's a billionaire, brother. What the fuck are you talking about? So, like, I know for a fact that he would be ripping into Kamala Harris if she also did the same dumbass thing that Donald Trump did by, you know, cosplaying as a regular layman. Everyone would rip into her. It's so dumb.
That was the difference in the election. It had everything to do with the economy, but it also had to do with who is speaking directly to the voters. And you had Donald Trump doing what Democrats have done for decades, speaking directly to working class voters. And the Harris campaign either ignored them, didn't think they needed them. I don't know what their idea was there, but they made a vibe election bet. He made a base election, unvoted, low propensity voter bet, and he won.
For sure. All right. Stephen Collinson, Mario Parker, Jaime Moore, Mike Dubke, thank you all very much for joining me this morning. I appreciate it. Happy Thanksgiving.
So when you want to give like an interview after, give a postmortem, you think you would go to a traditional media outlet? That way they can ask some, tough.
Kamala campaign blames bad question for interview snafus. Okay. Dude, it's crazy how hard the Republicans are just cooking. They are absolutely fucking dominating the Democratic media, the Democratic Party apparatus. They have just been nonstop. It's been an endless faucet of fucking ownage. God damn, it must feel good to be a Republican right around now. You're like, we want everything, brother. Where was I? Oh. Adam McKay, this timidity, lack of situational understanding, and deference to power is the reason why people like this are hired in advance in the DNC ecosystem, legacy news, corporations, etc. Select schools, communities, and mentors cultivate this nibble around the edges approach. And in the face of an active genocide, climate collapse, and widespread economic predation / corruption is absolutely killing us. Also, I just found out that Adam McKay actually follows me on Twitter. Watch this space. Got to get him on the broadcast, I think. It's so funny that I use his movies so much. Hold on. He saw your Schmeat yesterday. Have some shame. Maybe that's why he started following me. He was like, man, he's like, look, ultimately, I don't really care about a man's Schmeat, but like he has a respectable one, which is worthy of a follow. Like he's like, it doesn't tickle my fancy in like a gay way, but I respect it in like a manly way.
Tough questions. Instead, the Obama crew that ran Kamala Harris' campaign went to the Obama Bros, which were the speechwriters, the comms team.
Pod Save America.
Pod Save America, and this is what they had to say.
Dude, Pod Save America's they're eating it from every side, by the way. That's so funny. The left hates them because they're like, oh, you guys are establishment shills. And the right obviously hate them also because they're like, you're Democratic Party establishment shills. And the Democratic Party establishment hates them because they're like, oh, you're not loyal enough. Even though they have been. And they haven't really gotten enough in return for that loyalty either. That's what's hilarious about it, is that like, it's not like the fucking, fuck you mean them, you're a Podjon? Okay, that's true. I am a Podjon. I'm a Podjon now. Okay, so put some respect on it. Yes. The CNN video's out now.
Piker.
The CNN video's out and Kaya's on it. That's right. Kaya is on the main stage. Oh, by the way, you know who was really mad at them? the fucking Kennedy guy, Jack Schlossberg, who he's like somewhat unwell, I think. And he's always like popping off on TikTok. He sometimes shows up on my For You page too. But he said podcast was a comedy, not a tragedy. Absolutely no grace or humility, no accountability, no clue. Truly insulting. But there's a happy ending. Never have to listen to the person below again, and neither do any of you. Crank T. Nelson says, Jack, I'm afraid you are very mistaken about the nature of the Democratic Party if you think we won't hear from election losers again. Yeah. The IRS just said it wants $20 billion more money. What? Flat tax for all, no loopholes. I suspect when they say flat tax, they don't mean like, you know, a flat percentage. They mean like a finite amount. They mean like, you know, everybody pays like $1,000. I don't know. We are so cooked. America as a nation is so cooked. I will always keep repeating this. Oh, Kamala Harris was refused by Sean Evans, by the way, which I thought was pretty funny.
We would do an interview, and the questions were small and processy and about like
dumb.
They were not informing a voter who was trying to listen to learn more or to understand. That does a disservice to voters, and being up against a narrative that we weren't doing anything or we were afraid to have interviews is complete. And also like took hold a little bit, and we just gave us another thing we had to fight back for that Trump never had to worry about.
Well, I mean, look, everyone could look back. This is the time to be honest. This is the only time.
You have nothing to lose.
That mode of midterms. But when she says she blames the people for asking small questions, that is the funniest thing I've ever heard in my life. I blame the friendly questions that we got from friendly journalists.
Layups.
Where 77% of all the your coverage was positive. Where something like 85% of all Trump's was negative, and you blame the questions.
Dude, you want to know something crazy? Fox News is 100% right. Like, I hate that I have to give it to Brian fucking Kill Myself of all people. Okay? It makes me want to say, I'm Brian Kill Me. But they are 100% right with this analysis. Like, he's on the money. He's like, what are you now complaining that they were too nice to you? What the fuck? The media very rarely actually ask like adversarial questions. And I think it's partially because, you know, they paid the piper. They were fucking so unimaginably pro-corporate donors and pro-Israel that like, I think that's part of the process. The media was like, all right, you're playing ball. We got you. The problem is mainstream news, especially on the left, no longer has the same motion that it once did. The online content sphere is far too diversified and far too vast and far too successful. The audiences that are watching mainstream television are so fucking old. They're dying. And what is she going to do? Come on my show? I would have asked some big questions. No small ones, you know?
If you get a question of what is it going to take to win, that's all I need. Yeah. Because if I know what it takes to win and what my vision is, thank you for the easy question. I will take advantage of it. You know it with your book interviews. If someone says, tell me about Under His Wings, you can't be like, what a bad question.
Right.
I'm going to tell any books. You say, okay, I'm going to tell you about the content of it. It is an opportunity.
Oh my God. He's actually cooking. What the fuck is going on? I mean, he's literally right. He's like, you're complaining about the fucking stupid questions? No. Wait, what the fuck? Peter Griffin bears it all while eating spicy wings. Popular YouTube show host Hot Ones turned down Kamala Harris pre-election interview request. I wonder if any of them, the team guesting on PSA, made the call to have you removed from the DNC. No, Kamala's campaign was actually in favor of me being at the DNC to begin with. It was the actual DNC that did not like it. It was Jamie Harrison's side that was very agitated about it. And as far as I understand from the people that I talked to and the people that I heard from, it was the straw that broke the camel's back was my anger towards not having a Palestinian speaker. Would you go on Hot Ones? Yes, dude, of course. Sean Evans is my mortal enemy, okay? But I would go on Hot Ones for sure. Why wouldn't I? I'd love to go on Hot Ones. Yeah, I said it was some real Israel behavior by the DNC. Sean is your fragile op? Yeah, he is. Although I'm a bald chaser, Sean Evans, who doesn't know I exist, is my op. And old heads of the show know why, okay? There's a good reason for it. He beat me many years ago. He bested me in the battle in an award show that doesn't even fucking exist anymore, and I will never live it down.
Opportunity to show yourself. And what she missed is an opportunity to hop on the podcast and keep on debating the Joe Rogan podcast. It's the format. The format is, I'm not really going to ask you about what you did or Joe Biden. I'm going to ask you about you. And are you comfortable talking besides recipes? What else makes you up?
Yeah.
Why did you get married late? What went into those decisions? Yeah. What was it like growing up in San Francisco, with a single parent? So that's when you have an opportunity over the course of 3 hours to show your personality. Trump did it, but the format worked for Trump. Andrew Schultz and these guys, they were funny.
That's when he's his best.
He's self-effacing. Yeah. So if you are self-effacing and you have a degree of humility, that's why you love the format.
No. Donald Trump is not self-effacing at all. He is funny. He's telegenic. But no, he's not self-effacing. What are you talking about, dude? I feel like these guys genuinely, like, saying Trump experiences or exhibits humility is so mind-boggling to me. Like, we are living on an alternative plane of existence, dude. You are not living on planet Earth. I'm sorry. You are fucking out of your mind. What are you talking about? He's never demonstrated humility at all. The only difference is Trump is honestly dishonest, okay? He comes across as earnest in his dishonesty. He's like, yeah, I'm a scumbag, but I'm your scumbag. That's it. Whereas Democrats, even if they're being honest, come across as fucking dishonest. They're so scared. They're meek. They're insincere. They come across as technocratic elitists.
And then you hop in with 60 Minutes. You answer some questions circuitously, and they make you seem smart.
Yeah.
They edit your answers, and you're still complaining, and you were scared to do an interview. Don't lie about it. You didn't put her in front of the cameras till after the DNC. Yeah.
So true. Emily, they blamed Trump, actually, when it came to that. They said, look, they were actually trying to do the interview that same day that Trump did it in Houston, but they just really couldn't make it work. It's to Brian's point, though, they really didn't want to do the interview. There were people within the campaign staff that didn't think that she was shying, A. And number two, as James Carville made it very clear, the young people on the campaign, the crazy, blue hair, purple hair.
Don't do Rogan.
They said, don't do Rogan.
That's right. And the thing is,
the handshake coming from the fucking liberal mainstream media outlets and the stupid ass Fox News and the rest of the right-wing circuit is so frustrating. They're all in unison saying the same shit. Every single one of your parents, you're going to see them. If you haven't seen them already, you're going to see them in the upcoming days. They are going to repeat the exact same dumbass talking points to you because both the Republican side and the liberal side, if you're over the age of 45, if you're over the age of 50, you're watching television, and Television Man is saying the exact same shit. I like that the liberals, instead of licking their wounds and doing an autopsy, have decided, you know what? There's a far greater enemy out here, trans people, undocumented immigrants, and the left. Okay, how are you any different than the Republican right then? I hate it.
for someone that effectively attempted to have us believe in her as a leader, and by the way, she was the current vice president this entire time, and yet remains unchallenged. To your point about all of these interviews, everything she said was never challenged. She never had a follow-up question. Contrast that with President Trump during a debate where everyone said it was 3-on-1. Everything he said was challenged, twisted, manipulated, and pushed back. She had every softball, every option, every opportunity, and yet she wants us to believe that she's the victim, that the scheduling didn't work out, that she can't make something work, and yet you want me to put my faith in you as a commander-in-chief? You think I can trust you with the nuclear codes, with diplomacy, with representing me on the national and global stage, and you can't even articulate the answer to a softball question as to economic policy or why you flip-flop?
She should have never did the rally in Houston. There was no shot in winning Texas. There was absolutely no shot. It would have been more beneficial to the campaign to do the interview than do that rally in Texas. They had this, just like the poll that was released in released days before Iowa. There was no shot in winning Iowa. Everyone knew it. It was an outlier. Instead, they wanted the voters. They said the same thing about Florida. There's a shot. We're seeing some movement. Ron DeSantis has dominated in Florida for the last election cycle, okay? Midterms and his governor's race. So there was no data to suggest.
What about who the Dems put in charge versus who the Republicans put in charge? Like, Trump picks are insane. No Dem president's ever had picks like that. Yeah, no. Democrats put more competent pieces of shit in positions of power, whereas the Republicans put direct monsters in positions of power. But I don't know why you're even bringing that up. I mean, there's no argument here. Yes, Democrats will bring about a more moderate, a managed fascism, as opposed to the Republican Party that wants this volatility of full tilt fascism. Democrats are there to always there to either normalize Republican positions or restructure the government, maybe pick up some of the pieces that the Republicans destroyed, but never fully actually clawing back all of the gross power transfers that the Republicans engaged in, or the exchange of resources or deregulation that the Republican Party put in place. But here's the thing. If you don't want the Republicans to put fucking assholes into positions of power, and I certainly don't want that, then you have to run a good race. You have to be a competent competent politician even before the race. This is what is frustrating about this process. Okay? I don't want Donald Trump to win. I didn't want Donald Trump to win. I made that very clear. But the reality is, I was frustrated with the Democrats because they were going to lose to Donald Trump. They were making a very dangerous gamble. And it turns out I was right. Even though towards the end, I was like, maybe there's an opportunity here, slight opportunity, even though I favor Trump winning the popular vote. You're a fucking loser, baby. Trump 2024, baby. You're a fucking loser, man. Yeah, I mean, it already happened. Trump is already going to be president. And I'm willing to bet that your life is not going to change in a meaningful fashion, in a positive direction. It's going to get worse. And we'll check back with you in a couple of years. I mean, it's 2019 that you've been following me since. And, wait, what? You have a good head on your shoulders. Keep it up. I really want to hear what you have to say about building the wall. But she really doesn't have to pay for the place they're building or the electricity or tools, you said back in 2019. My opinion on building the wall has not changed, just so you understand. And I suspect that your life did not improve meaningfully under the first Trump administration, despite the fact that you supported him. Yeah, my man went dead silent for the 4 years of Biden, the Biden dub, only to come back. A glorious return. For a lot of people, they just think like, oh yeah, we're going to dominate trans people. We're going to dominate gay people. We're going to dominate the undocumented migrants, thinking that that is going to make rent better. You know, it's not. Is your landlord trans? Is your landlord undocumented? Okay. Is your landlord ruining the fucking housing market? Or not your landlord. Your landlord is doing that. Is an undocumented migrant ruining the housing market? I didn't realize they were a fucking BlackRock, you know? It's all comprised of undocumented migrants. Undocumented migrants are at Sweet Baby Inc., ruining video games. My dad is currently watching you for the first time on CNN. He doesn't know that I watch you. Oh shit. Tell me what he thinks about the piece.
Yes, that they had a path there, right. But they were telling people this to try to excite. Just like at the convention, Brian, they said there's so much joy. There was no joy. No one liked her. And we saw it at every swing state when she lost every single swing state.
Right. So I think there's a lot there. I just think that finally the question that destroyed her campaign, and everyone agrees, was, how are you different than Joe Biden?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. So
by Sonny Austin.
So in retrospect, the questions were too simple. You can't get simpler than that. Yeah. If you can't hit an underhand pitch,
it's a layup.
Why should I give you a fastball?
Exactly. God,
this is true.
Nailing it.
Wow.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch.
Wow, here we go. The president-elect isn't letting the shortened holiday week slow him down, announcing a flurry of new picks for his incoming administration.
The new appointments made last night give us a better idea of what Trump's second presidency will look like.
Doug Glazader has the story on that in Washington. Hey, Doug.
Hey, good morning, guys. It was one after another last night. The organizational chart is really beginning to fill in now for the incoming Trump administration, and many of these picks are consistent with...
What are your predictions? What? For what? My parents love your evolution from that kid on TYT. They are 70. Good work reaching out to them old heads. All right, let's move on.
Now, the reaction to President Trump's threat to hit Canada and Mexico with tariffs on day one of his new administration. Two countries are pushing back. Mexico's president is warning that her country could retaliate against the U.S. with tariffs of its own. Chief Business Correspondent Rebecca Jarvis here with the story. Good morning, Rebecca.
Good morning to you, George. Nice to see you guys. And he is threatening Mexico and Canada with those tariffs unless they crack down on the flow of migrants and drugs. They are pushing back, but it is American consumers who could end up paying the biggest price. This morning, President-elect Trump's threat to impose tariffs on America's neighbors already prompting a growing fight with Mexico and Canada. Mexico's new president threatening to retaliate with tariffs of their own if Trump follows through on his pledge to impose 25% across-the-board tariffs on both countries, potentially sparking a devastating trade war. No es aceptable. Mexico's president says tariffs are not acceptable and it would cause inflation and job losses in the U.S. and Mexico. Adding later, Mexico respects Trump, but we also ask respect for ourselves. To the north, in Canada, an emergency session of Parliament where Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, who's had a rocky relationship with Trump, is trying to calm nerves, speaking to Trump within hours of him posting his threat Monday night.
What we will do is stand up for Canadian jobs, as we have before, as we will continue to. Stand up for the prosperity we create when we work together.
But analysts believe the damage wouldn't be limited to overseas. Several major companies have already made clear American consumers would pay much of the cost of any tariffs. With inflation still cooling, Americans could be hit with higher prices for electronics, cars, hardware, groceries, and even gasoline. Best Buy CEO, for example, telling investors during an earnings call Tuesday, the vast majority of that tariff will probably be passed on to the consumer as a price increase. Trump has long favored tariffs to achieve his goals, this time accusing America's two largest trading partners of letting drugs and migrants cross the border, promising pain if something doesn't change. And the question now is how much of that tough talk actually becomes action when you look at President-elect Trump's cabinet, his economic cabinet. Many of them are seen by Wall Street as more moderate on tariffs. The perception is, George, that this is a negotiating tactic at this point.
And that's one of the reasons that the stock market keeps rising.
Yeah, absolutely. Taking all of this in stride.
Yeah. When is Ta-Nehisi Coates' interview now? We're going to reschedule the next week when he's feeling better.
Right at this point, Wall Street was up 20% going into the election. The S&P 500 now up 27% for the year, and that's what's reflected in most 401ks and retirement accounts. And I can tell you, while you're hearing from a lot of world leaders on this topic, behind the scenes, it's the CEOs talking to the president-elect about what this would do to their business and their consumer.
Okay, Rebecca, thanks very much.
Let's start off with some what the hell news. It was the most requested story on the text line for the past 12 hours. Let's talk about this Kai Cenat situation.
Dude, this is an insane situation, by the way. It's like not even a meme. If you guys are unfamiliar or unaware with what happened, it is a totally insane situation. And I'm going to issue a trigger warning because, no, it's not Sexy Red. Sexy Red is not like the craziest thing that occurred. Kai Cenat, he'll get to it, but there's a trigger warning for like hanging, suicide.
For those who don't know, Kai Cenat
it's not
is
real,
arguably
of course. Like it didn't actually happen, but it's like a wild thing that occurred, like a simulated version of it.
One of the biggest streamers in the world right now. And he's in the middle of this marathon stream, subathon, where he became the most subscribed streamer in the world. But now we're seeing people yell, what the hell, that was messed up, or ban Kai Cenat. And the reason they're saying that right now is because there was a stunt aired on his stream where it appeared that Kai pulled a rope that then hung someone. Because like I said, Kai's been doing this subathon, and last night he was joined by a magician by the name of Max Major, who seemingly had a surprise trick for him. Because when Kai walked outside to find Max, Max was already on a platform accompanied by 3 nooses, which resulted in this reaction.
Yo, what?
Oh, what is wrong? Max, what the are you doing up there, Max?
And then, as they got closer to Max, he explained the stunt, noting that there were 3 nooses up there with him and 3 cords with handles down by Kai. And in this setup, the way it's shown is that even though Kai couldn't see what cord belonged to which noose, he was going to pull.
This is disgusting, and Kai deserves accountability for continuing to stream it. I think I have a more nuanced position on this, but it's like what he tried to do in this situation was to mitigate it, and was like, don't show this. So he literally pushed the camera down. And in normal circumstances, for the record, especially when you're like a very large content creator, obviously, and doing like this almost Hollywood level production, Twitch is going to be more understanding because it's real. Like it's live broadcasting. It's live broadcasting like a television show. So in an uncontrolled environment, there are going to be some issues, but it's the same principle behind for example, if I'm watching like news coverage or something, and then there's like or if I'm watching something in real time and unexpectedly there is like a blip of violence or pornography or some kind of material like that, and I quickly scroll away. Twitch is inconsistent in issuing bans on that, but usually they're very charitable and will let you slide. Because while this was a pre-planned event, I think the entire nature of the pre-planned event was him not knowing what the fuck was going to happen. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's the same as a sniper shouting slurs. Exactly. If a stream sniper runs up to you while you're live streaming and this has happened many times over, and they like shout slurs, then it's not entirely your fault. Or if you're live streaming and then there's like a car crash that occurs, it's not entirely your fault. And I suspect that he knew 100%, in my opinion. I watched the video and it didn't seem like he knew what was going to happen. Like he didn't think that like the dude was going to be hanged. Do you know what I mean? Because very clearly, you can see the way he behaves after the dude is like simulated as hanging.
Pull one when Max told him to. Notably, Max attached to one of the nooses, but first, he also warned the audience.
I have to say that I'm a professional. This is my decision to do this. I'm supervised by professionals. We have emergency personnel standing by, and that absolutely no one should try anything like this or anything dangerous at home.
Then
I think he was looking for, I also personally think that he's like the magician might have been looking for clout. You know what I mean? And he did get it. I don't personally care, but don't you think the examples you gave are unpredictable and sudden? While this is a pretty long situation, yeah, I don't think that this was going to be the outcome. Like, I don't think he thought that he would be, hanging someone.
Do a pull test where Kai pulled one of the cords to see what would happen, and sure enough, one of the nooses goes up. But then after that test, Max putting his head through one of the nooses, and with only 2 cords left to pull, it seemingly meant that there was a 50-50 shot that Kai was going to pull the one that Max was attached to. And initially with this, you have Kai seemingly getting worried.
If I kill you, I go to jail, right?
Everyone in Kai's group also appears to start getting uneasy with the whole thing, but Kai did as Max instructed and pulled one of the handles. And as it turned out, he pulled the one that Max had put his head in. So Max goes up into the air for a few seconds, but his crew then quickly dropped him down and got him out. Now with that, the reason I'm describing it rather than showing you is I do not think I can or would want to show you someone getting hung by a noose. But in the aftermath, what we saw and what I can show you is Kai's reaction.
What the
Need you guys to go back to the house.
Wait, no.
I think the important part about this is that the immediate, because I watched not the full thing, but I did watch the part where like he's literally hanging and they show him hanging and it looks like, it looks like a person hanging, right? And you can tell that he thinks he's just like caused this person a tremendous amount of pain. And not only that, but he also immediately tries to move the camera away. Like it's not, I feel like, I don't think that his expectation was, that he was going to literally hang a dude. Hasan, please, Kai knew. Yeah, hold on. Doors open. Sorry. Wait, so there wasn't actually a magic trick at all? It was just a stunt? Yeah. But also, you got to realize, like, he's probably going to lose a lot of sponsorship deals because of this. Like, why the fuck would he voluntarily be like, yeah, no, he most likely lost his Nike deal from this. You know what I mean? Like, there's no fucking shot that he was like, yeah, great, I would love to lose my Nike deal. Kai Cenat, you guys are forgetting, is not a normal Twitch streamer. He is literally in between a Twitch streamer and a Hollywood entertainer. The content that he's creating is television level production. And on top of that, I mean, he's got fucking McDonald's sponsorships and shit, okay? Nike, McDonald's, all these massive brands that sponsor him, they're not going to fuck around with this kind of thing at all. So, you know, a dude appearing in like fucking T-Mobile ads and shit is not going to place himself in a place where, oh shit, nice, yeah, it's for Thanksgiving. Just leave it on the kitchen counter. Why would the magician not run it past them? He doesn't need to know. I think for this bit to work from the mindset, if I put myself in the mindset of the magician, you don't want the fucking person to know what you're gonna do. I'm on the he knew train, watch the full VOD. It's on his property, and there was like 10-minute lead up to the final pull. They might have thought it wouldn't actually happen, but he knew the possibility for sure. I could see that. He's not going to lose his sponsors. Why are you overreacting so hard? No, there's definitely a likelihood that he could lose sponsors. People are going to say, you have a massive audience of children and you simulated a hanging. What are you talking about? There's an entire reason why there is a fucking massive controversy surrounding the incident. The fuck are you talking about? There's hella people in this chat who are like, oh no, he still pulled off the stunt, knowing full well that it could have been a simulated hanging. So yeah, I think that ultimately this is like a incident that absolutely would invoke a lot of controversy. And I don't think that he it's not even his reaction is so immediate that I don't think it's like people are gonna get mad at me for this and now I fucked up. Like, that's the type of attitude that people would have if they did something, they thought it was chill, and then they faced repercussions, and then they changed their perspective. Okay, his attitude was immediate, where like he was like, "Oh fuck, what the fuck is going on?" Okay, but like, what's the trick there that he didn't die? Yeah, I don't really know what like the magician's goals were, aside from I think like, just trying to create some controversy. It's also a performance song. We watch actors in musicals and movies with violence, otherwise seen as atrocious in real life context. This feels like kind of shit. Yeah, that's why, because Twitch streaming blurs the lines of like something that is really happening and a television production. That's the other side of the story. That's the other reason why people are like understandably more distraught by what they saw, and also understandably more aggressively being like, no, this is real. He said, the real magic trick is let me make Kai's sponsors disappear. Yeah.
My God. No. I might get banned.
I need you guys to go back.
Oh, my heart hurts.
We need to clear the way so that they can get him out.
Oh my God. I get banned. Is he good? It's got to be a prank. It has to be a prank. Max still laying in the box. Bro, I just pulled a... All my life, I didn't mean to pull the wrong call. All my life.
Kai's team then's instructed to go back inside. Kai continues to wonder if he was pranked, asking, is Max okay? And then he finds a note from Max instructing him to watch a video where he essentially explains that the whole thing was pre-planned.
If you're watching this, that means that something has gone terribly wrong. But what you don't know is that was all according to my plan. You see, at the start of my performance, I said that tonight was all about choices.
I took a clip. He was hanging for 7 seconds. Yeah, he hung for a minute, dude. He was, I mean, it was fucking gruesome. I'm not gonna lie. It shocked me.
But not just the choices that you made tonight.
This dude is insane, okay? Straight up. Like, an actually insane. It was all a part of my master plan. My goal was for you to hang me and therefore get you banned. Like, what the fuck? I think like in order for this reaction to be sincere, why are you standing in the corner? There's a fucking seat right there. Right there. There's also seats over there. You can pull a seat from over there and bring it in here. You can if you want to. Bro, Austin literally pulled a chair outside of the studio. He's sitting on the corner of the studio. Like outside of the room of the studio. It's just like, and he's just like sitting there, this meek little man, okay? He's like, oh, I don't know. Should I come in? I don't know. Get the fuck over here, dude. What's wrong with you? What the fuck is...
Somebody called me a fucking idiot in the chat.
What the fuck is wrong with you, dude?
I don't know. I haven't been socialized in a few days. I don't remember what it's like.
Yeah, what happened? Why are you...
I don't know.
Still, this stomach virus is like cooked you. I feel like you're still pale.
What?
What's happening?
I don't know.
You still
Do I look
sick.
pale?
You still look sick.
I'm not sick at all. Oh shit! Did I get it again?
I don't know. I hope.
Fuck.
Better stay the fuck away
No,
from
I
me.
feel great. I feel great. I just haven't slept in like 3 days.
Wait,
But
why not?
I don't know. I can't sleep. I've been taking these vitamins, and I don't know what the fuck's in them. But like, I'm like, I get to bed and I'm just like, I cannot sleep. I think I was
Do you
reading.
masturbate?
Yeah, multiple times, over and over again.
I had the fire off twice last night.
Yeah, to go to sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
no.
sometimes you got to hit it twice.
No, and then sometimes like I'll even try to like go to sleep and like put a porno on in my head. You know what I'm talking about? You ever like dream of like a fantasy and just like play it and then go to sleep to it? It didn't work. Nothing worked. Y'all know that nobody else does that? Is that just me? We just come on. He showed his whole cock on his timeline yesterday. What are you talking about, TMI?
Dude, I'm sorry that I
Jesus Christ. Fucking,
I'm sorry that I'm dominating the spaces that you're...
Bro, I couldn't even post a thirst trap yesterday without people calling me that I was saying I was copying you, like you invented the thirst trap. I'm blowing podcast content. God damn it!
It's like you know, LeBron James invented basketball. Like, did he actually invent it? No, but he redefined it.
Okay,
Damn.
the LeBron James of third.
How does this make you feel?
But dude, I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I didn't realize. I looked at the before photo.
Yeah, you didn't realize how fat I was.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's kind of fucked up of me to say, but I mean,
Yeah.
look, you were a little. Look,
I was a little chubster.
you're a little
dude.
chub.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, look, I mean, hey, look, congratulations. I was proud of you. I was proud of you. No, this is good for my business.
Put your cock away.
Look, I mean, it
Yeah,
was.
I don't like
you
that I'm
my
being
comment?
objectified, but we'll save this for the broadcast.
You don't like being objectified?
Like, to this degree, it's like the cock wasn't supposed to be the main fixture of this entire
Shut
thing.
all right, we're talking about no more conversation. No more conversation. You guys we're gonna talk
we'll
about this on the podcast.
Save it for the pod. All right, let's continue with this.
The choices that you've made since the day that we met. Well, all along,
who is this?
I planned to influence you to make the wrong choice.
Wait, did
and
he
I
make
knew
a
you'd pick
video
the red
behind
handle.
the
You then see Kai
scenes
seemingly worried he was going to face a ton of
him
backlash.
basically trolling Kai and
Yeah,
not
he was
telling
like,
them.
Yeah, he was like, "Yeah, I got you, you little bitch. You fucking almost killed me." That's what his video was about.
Why would he do this?
Yeah.
He definitely did. With people generally thinking prank or not, whether Kai knew or not, he shouldn't have let this whole thing happen. With people writing things like, it doesn't take a genius to know once a man was on a stage with a noose around his neck, you probably shouldn't continue with the stunt. No matter if the magician tricked him or not, there comes a point.
Like, I don't know what he hashtag accountability matters. People are so funny.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what he thought was going to happen, but I'm certain that he didn't think that he was going to do a live simulated hanging of a person. You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, did
hashtag accountability matters.
Look, I you would think that he's a magician, so he knows what he's doing.
What the fuck is magical about hanging yourself? No, magicians do that shit all the time. They do like crazy self-harm shit.
Yeah.
Like the David Blaine stuff, like all the escape stuff. Like that's normal. Like that happens. It's just, this is one of those.
It's the most liberal ass hashtag I've ever seen.
Yeah, this is, dude. Right wingers love doing that liberal shit though. They're like,
Oh, really?
"Ooh, I'm doing accountability on HasanAbi Piker.
Yeah.
He said America deserved 9/11. Stop crying, bitch. Anyway,
he's like, and I'll say it again.
yeah, that's what Fox News did to me the other week. They're
Yeah.
like, it seems
I
here
know.
you're joking about a second 9/11.
Yeah.
Like, okay, well, you understand that I'm being sarcastic, so why the fuck are you asking me
Yeah.
if I meant it sincerely, dumbass? All right.
Yeah, Jesus.
the magic is supposed to be escaping the news. Exactly. Like it's supposed to be like, oh, see, like you tried to hang me, but I succeeded in escaping, like that type of shit. That's an illusionist. This guy lied to Kai. Wow. Some real Magic Castle shit going on in the chat right now.
Understand.
That's an illusionist.
So I'm sorry I'm late to the party here, but I saw the video of him hanging himself. At what point, where's the magic?
No, I didn't. Like,
I'm genuinely like, where's the trick?
I think it was like a weird, you know what it is? It's like comedy. Okay.
Yeah.
You can be a very edgy comedian, but if you teeter along this fine line, as an edgy comic, like and craft a really funny joke, it's a banger.
Shock magic.
But if you actually fail to be funny in the process of being edgy, then you come across like a racist piece of shit.
Yeah.
And I think what he was trying to do was basically that, where he was like, "Oh, this is an excellent prank."
Yeah.
And then because he didn't have like a real, it seemed like there was no real like payoff, right? The payoff is just what? Traumatizing everyone that watched you be hanged.
Everybody panics and you get out of the noose because everybody helps you down.
Yeah. So like,
right? He didn't even escape.
So I think that because there was no payoff, there was no like real punchline, there was no twist. It was just like a very what you see is what you get type situation. People were like, what the fuck is where's